So you've gone from the school thing, at some point you've joined a drama school, right?
I was trying to be a professional snooker player and pool player.
Welcome to Significant. It's a podcast by the Yak. And we're here today with, I'm going to say actor, writer, producer, Mr. Martin East. Welcome,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you.
How you doing?
Nice to be here. I'm all right. Yeah, just got a bit rained on.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
Yeah. So one of those decisions in August they should do, and you say, right, get on the bike.
It's not supposed to be raining in August.
No,
anyway,
not at all.
No. We're here at Double Espresso Studios, and Martin had to buy his coffee outside. But, oh dear. What have you been up to, mate?
Recently, we formed a film company here, and
Wait. Let's go back.
go back.
We're going to start at the beginning, aren't we, Martin? That makes sense.
Go on in.
Let's start with the name first.
It's not my name.
That's what I thought.
There you go. So, there is a bunch of reasons I ended up with East. First of all, when I went to... one thing you need to understand with names is they're trading names in the UK. So when you join Equity, you can't have someone else's
As an
name.
actor.
That's their business name.
Right.
My bad fortune was that my name, Martin Brown, he actually was the secretary of Equity. So there was no twist in his arm.
You couldn't just add an E or something like that.
I could have done. I didn't think of that. Where was you a little while ago? And
Brown like E-R, yeah, Mr. Brown, Martin
I
Brown.
looked at Darren, which was my mother's family's name.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And there was a bunch of people changed that had over the years changed to West.
Right.
And I tell you what, who came on our finals, one of the girls in our year who was one of the better actresses, her aunt, grand aunt, or whatever it was, so was Prunella Scales and Timothy West. So Timothy West had just come to see the finals. To you know Prunella Scales, right?
Yeah,
From The Good
for sure.
Life and stuff like that. So they were the kind of grand old actor types,
Right.
and come in and.
So this is at school, is it?
At drama school.
So you grew up in, you're obviously a Londoner, I can tell.
Yeah, it's interesting. I am geographically a Londoner, but raised in a Glaswegian family. So,
Okay.
so if I'm at home with my family, I talk like this.
Oh,
With
sorry.
my aunt, if I'm with my aunties and my uncles, I talk like this. If I'm in the house.
Are you serious?
Yeah, serious. Yeah.
Okai the New,
Yeah.
etc.
Bit low down.
Are you serious?
Serious. If I'm at home, I talk like this. That's what I do.
Bloody hell.
It changes people's perspectives
Yeah.
completely off me because, and it's really weird because you do get pigeonholed over the years about being this and that, especially being a Cockney actor. It's like they think, oh, you're a cool blimey governor bloke.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I'm not really.
Right.
So, yeah.
Huh. So, but you grew up in London?
I grew up in East London, so in a really, really bad area. Not bad, just deprived.
Right.
And, first generation of our family to live in that area, to be born in that area. And it was like an extended Glaswegian family that had come down. And then when you went to Glasgow, to the places where my dad and his family were from, you're like, oh, well, they'd come up in the world to where they was. The taxi driver would drop you off and say, I'm not taking you the last 500 yards.
Seriously? Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So then school was, you mentioned drama school, but presumably before drama school you
Before
start
that,
regular
I went
school.
to school. I went to a local school, and then I got into a grammar school, and I did the first year of grammar school. But I don't know if I've got Tourette's and it's been undiagnosed or something, but we used to live... I was thinking about this. So I've got a 6-year-old kid now, right? So I used to get on a bus and go 3 miles, like a red bus,
Right.
every morning, and get off the other end at my daughter's age and go to school.
Right.
And
Yeah.
by the time I got to secondary school, they got me into a grammar school, and I got into the top stream mainly because I was really good at mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to turn up every day late. So it got to the end of the first year, and I don't know if it was the same at your school, but they would have like one general assembly, like a big one.
Yeah.
And I snuck in the back about a quarter of an hour late.
Right.
And the headmaster decided to make a show of me.
Yeah.
Brown, come to the stage, Brown. So I walk up to the stage, and he's gone. And I grew up like playing snooker and in pubs. My dad was always in a pub, so I've grown up with grown men. So you have to be quick-witted.
Right.
So he's gone to me, Brown, you should have been here 30 minutes ago. So I just answered him. I said, why? What happened 30 minutes ago?
Yeah.
At which point now the teachers are like, because he's obviously a prick.
Yeah.
And everybody knows that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he called.
You should
he
have
pulled
been
out.
here
Give me the registration. This is in front of 600 people. Probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me the registration book for 1R. Out comes the. He makes a big show of counting it. He says, "You have been late 17 times in 19 days, Brown. What do you have to say for yourself?" I was early twice, sir. And he basically wrote a letter recommending that I go to another school.
Right.
So I went to another school.
So you got kicked out of that one?
I didn't get kicked out. I mean, he was right. I couldn't get to that school on time.
I see. Right.
But then you have that mentality when you're younger of like at a certain point where and Indonesians have this as well. It's like whatever the time is stated, they try to arrive exactly at that time.
Yeah.
There's no margin for actually
right.
getting there early. So
Which usually means you're half an hour late.
of course, yeah, you're not factoring anything possibly could go wrong.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to a school in quite close to the Blackwall Tunnel, and it was quite a progressive left-wing school.
Yeah.
It was a really good education.
Mm-hmm.
So I was lucky, by default, ended up in this quite forward-thinking school. And at the end of the first year when I joined, I've been having discussions with some of my old classmates. Is that we had a cover art teacher called Miss Westwood.
Okay.
And word was...
Shout out to Miss Westwood.
Well...
Mrs. now, probably.
No. Vivian Westwood.
Oh, Vivian Westwood.
Was a cover art teacher.
Oh, Jesus. Are you serious?
Yeah. So,
Wow.
and at that time, it was nobody knew who she was.
Yeah.
It's she's to do with Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
She's dating a bloke from the Sex Pistols, which was, about the
So this would have been 75, 76?
76, 77, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus.
I mean,
Then do you remember her as an art teacher?
I just remember, afterwards when, every history plays out in a certain way, shape and form, you're like, it must have been Vivian Westwood.
Yeah.
And it wasn't any particular thing about who she was or what she did. What she does. It's like, oh, she's with the bloke from the Sex Pistols.
Wow.
And she was only there, I would say, 6 weeks or something as a cover teacher. But, yeah.
So when did the acting thing come along? I mean, presumably it's school plays and stuff, or what? Was it drama?
Well, I was a singer when I was a kid, so I did Jason and I did a lot of theatre and musicals to quite a high level. Oliver and stuff like that.
But you said, I mean, how did you actually start? In the
school plays,
right?
yeah.
School plays.
Yeah.
So at some point somebody said, "Brown, you're playing so and so," and on you got to the stage.
Miss
right?
Hillman.
Miss Hillman. Shout out to Miss Hillman, yeah. And her family and theirs. But somebody just said, right, you're playing Lord whoever in whatever Dickens.
God. I remember playing God.
Oh, playing God. Okay, so
Like,
started. It's been downhill ever since then.
Exactly. Yeah. So I played.
I mean, even
God.
Titanic, which we were in, there's this downhill, man. Yeah.
Which has that's just gone down to number 7 on the all-time list of earners.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But so you're getting on the stage there, and you've done it, and you've enjoyed it, have you? What have you actually enjoyed about it?
What I remember is you don't know if you're good at it, and what you don't know. I do remember like us being about 5 or 6 years old, and then we're doing a little drama class with the teacher, and then she told us to act like we're asleep, and various people go like this, and I'd gone like this, and she said, "No, look, that's how you look when you're really sleeping."
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I mean, and then from there, it really was the singing thing, because I used to go to... Well, my mates used to get 25 pence to carry candles at the church.
Oh, there we go. Here comes the money.
Yeah, I used to get £5 to sing at weddings and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. So,
okay.
So I'd sing.
So you're a choir boy, basically, were you then, or?
I was, yeah. I guess, yeah. So it was more from singing than acting. So I was a singer, and then We did Jason and Golden Fleece, Joseph and Amazing. So, but at Central Hall, Westminster and stuff, big places like that. Yeah.
Right. But then you've gone from the school thing. At some point, you've joined a drama school, right?
No, I packed it all in. I was trying to be a professional snooker player and pool player.
Oh,
so I packed all that in, and then.
Well, no, I have seen you play pool, and you're an amazing snooker player. You really are. I mean, professional level, I'd say, right?
Yeah,
Same as your golf. I have to say, you're a scratch golfer. I've played golf against you.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be a fairly pro level at both those sports. Yeah.
Well, it's a weird. You've got to have a weird mentality. You've got to want to practice.
Right.
I actually enjoy practicing almost as much as playing.
Right.
So yeah.
But you joined a drama school then? I mean, at some point you became.
It never went like that. So I went to. I packed it in for a long while, and literally I was a professional gambler at the age of 14, living in a pub, and I mean I'm a good golfer and I'm a good snooker player, but I was a great pool player, and I'd be playing for 500, 1,000, $2,000 every Friday. There was a group of guys who used to back me, and these companies would think they had a good player, and they'd all come around the pub.
14?
Yeah,
would this be organised, or is it like somebody walks into a pub and goes, anybody fancy a game of pool?
It's gambling. And there I was. But Nigel, now you look at it as a 55-year-old man, you look at it and say, those guys are walking in, right? Now the guy thinks he's got it in his head all week he's going to beat me, yeah? Right. And all of his workmates have all got to go up to their wives and say, I've got no money. It's not my money, Nigel. I can't lose. Right. I mean, in terms of how much pressure's on your shoulder. Yeah. I mean, I was invariably a lot better than all of them. Right. I was playing on the table that we played on all the time, so I knew the table backwards. Right. And it was hard for them to win because I'd go for shots that if your money was on the line, you wouldn't normally go for.
Right. But you were backed. So you were.
Yeah. So now I'd walk out there with 150 quid, go and buy myself a Pringle jumper, and
that's it, right? And then, but you'd win like $1,000 or whatever.
No, I mean they used to win a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my mistake was starting to play snooker on that front because it's a more strategically interesting game, but I wasn't nearly as. I mean, I've made 140, 139 breaks at snooker, but I'm not nearly as good at pool as I am at snooker. Right. And then, that was the path I was taking. Around about 18, I went down to the Half Moon, which is a very well-known theatre in Stepney Green, and was run at the time by Stephen Burkoff.
Right. Stephen bloody Burkoff.
Yeah.
Is he still going?
He is. Yeah.
Shout out to Burkoff. Yeah.
Another bald man over 50.
We'll have to beep that bit out, Fleety. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's so we went now, and I joined the youth theatre and did a few plays, and went and did a play up in the Edinburgh Festival and stuff like that. So I quite liked it. I was quite into it, and I got a job in the city, doing as basically not as an underwriter, but between the insurance company and going into Lloyd's and taking the slips in and stuff like that. Right. And then at the end of that year, my mate called me, who went on to be quite a well-known actor, Maynard Eziashi. He won Best Actor at the Berlin Film Festival. But he called me, he was in a drama school, and he went, they're short of men. And this was about May or June. Huh. So he said, audition, they're really short, they haven't got enough men for next year. And I said, okay, I'll audition. I had no plans to go to drama school. So I auditioned, sent me money in, got an audition like 4 days later. So I worked on some pieces, went in, did the audition, got through to the second round. 2 days later, another mutual friend of ours was directing a play at the Greenwich Theatre, and so I went into the theatre to see Foz's play, and the principal and the vice principal sat in front of me because he'd just graduated from the school I just auditioned for. So, and during the interval, they turned around to me and said, you'll be getting some good news in the next couple of days. Okay, cool. So within 5 days, I had no great plan to go to drama
school. You'd gone from being a professional gambler on a pool table to...
Yeah. I mean, no, I was in the city at that point. Oh, yeah. You know, it was laid out to, get up in the morning, play squash at 7:30 before you go to work.
Shit, right, yeah. But do you think, just for the acting stuff, do you think the fact that you grew up so quickly, so early, and became sort of, I guess, aware of the adult world at a very early stage, that helped you to be able to sort of inhabit that space that that actors need to do to have, just to be real, if you like?
Yeah, well, there's different kinds of actors. So yes, on that front, when you think you're being sort of
Or you're just great at the practicing bit, you could learn your lines and...
no, all right. I'm very good at being present on stage or in front of camera.
Right, which is a special skill, I think, for...
Well, there's two
anybody
kinds
that's done any stand-up or anybody that's been on a stage, will recognise when I say that there's a sort of a liquid or the air becomes something else, the room becomes something else, and you have to step into that room, right? And recognise the power that you have in that room and to use that wisely in terms of, there are people watching you, so you can either be afraid of it or you can work with it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I used to love being on stage.
Yeah.
I mean, and predominantly I had nothing to do with TV or film, so I love being on stage. I love rehearsing, and I mean, I do remember some friends, the same girl that I talked about with the very famous family of actors. I mean, I remember going on stage. We were doing the Crucible or something, and she. And I was about to walk on, and there was a little toilet there, and she was throwing up in the toilet. And I would think to myself, why would you do it if it makes you feel like that?
Yeah, right.
I mean, I have stuff that happens on stage. Yeah, I mean, I was present, and interestingly enough, the drama school that I went to was called Rose Bruford, and it had quite a reputation for being hardcore. The pretty boys and the posh speakers went to RADA. I never even applied for that. It would have been a completely different route if I did. Lambda, Central, but the two kind of edgier schools were Drama Centre and Rose Bruford. And Gary Oldman went to Rose Bruford.
Right.
Tim Roth went to Drama Centre.
Okay, Gary Oldman, what a great actor, man.
Yeah, great.
Stunning.
Actor.
I mean, so let's talk about acting a bit. I mean, I don't know anything about it really, but I recognise, good actors obviously versus sort of bad actors. I mean, and I know there's various schools and stuff, but how does it kind of pan out for you as a science or as an art? What's the secret, if you like, of being good at it?
Okay, so my training at drama school was 3 years Stanislavski training, which is heavy research based and self-analysis and applying experiences and your own.
So we'd call this method acting, right?
Method acting. Yeah. Stanislavski is method acting.
Right. So you sort of learn everything about the character, everything about the history. You inhabit the world yourself.
No, you
inhabit. You inhabit
dig.
it. You dig, right?
No, actually, you don't inhabit. That's the issue that I kind of have with it. Is that it depends what medium. So if you're in a play, it works really well because there is generally a fourth wall. So there's no expectation for any. It's a performance.
Yeah.
There's no swindling someone to believe something's really real. It's a play.
Right, play.
But once you get into film and television, there often becomes that point at which they want. There's an intimacy that makes you feel, hey, actually, you're listening to something real here. There's that kind of swindle that goes on.
You have to buy into that. Yeah.
So in that sense, basically the two different levels are in play. You're always projecting.
Yeah.
I just went to see a play in Jakarta.
Yeah.
With Happy Salma, who I think is a fine actor.
Yeah.
And
shout out to Happy.
Yeah, it should have been, and no disrespect to her, but I watched it as a play. It didn't work. It was too small.
Right.
It could have been a radio play like this.
Right.
If there were cameras up close to her, what she was doing was fine. But as a piece of theatre, there was no projection.
Yeah.
And
special thing, isn't it? Theatre.
But as a film and television actor, you need to be present. You need to be thinking. So you basically got Stanislavski, and then you got Meisner. So once I went to America and started working with different acting coaches, and I was really lucky to be introduced to Charlie, who was Pacino's acting coach down in Venice. So I'd go into that class, and you start realizing the whole concept of being present, which the camera likes more.
Right.
Theatre doesn't care if you're present.
Right.
Well, it depends on the play, but generally, if you're playing a character. And, you know, you want to convince someone that this is the 18th century, and you know
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
got gout, and you know.
Yeah, and it's generally more kind of exuberant in terms of, you know, forsooth, you're sort of projecting of it's demonstrative, right?
Yeah.
But whereas the camera is really just watching, you know, nothing. So nothing becomes very powerful. But
you have
on
to
the
let them in.
stage, I think that you have to really to stage something that's nothing, you know, without any dialogue or just standing there. You really have to work at that, you know, to make that work with an audience, right?
Yeah.
But with a camera, you can do that.
Well, the camera's it's a way more intimate art
Yeah.
form. It's a totally different kind of acting, and it is totally about allowing the camera to actually to be thinking.
Yeah.
And Meisner is based upon listening. And if you're on stage and I asked you a question, which is in the script, yeah, it doesn't matter if I really asked you a question or not.
Right.
Whereas if it's in film and TV, if I asked you a question as a director now, I actually want the person to ask the question.
Yeah.
And I actually don't want the other actor to answer unless they've been asked the question.
Right. I
It's
kind of get that.
But it's
kind
quite
of,
simple to ask someone a
deep.
question.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
It's
It
so
is, but-
simple. It's difficult for people. Because
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's sort of making the simplicity out of the complexity, because obviously being taught everything, you know, there's this way and this way, and everybody wants to learn how to do it. But actually, I don't think that, you know, learning acting is it's about unlearning stuff, really. So it's unlearning how you react.
Not acting.
Not acting, yeah. Which sounds bizarre, because you can be paid, you know, gazillions of dollars for actually being able to not blink. And
But you
Yeah.
are so. But so.
anyway, let's just going to go
Okay,
back
go
to
on.
the
I'm
history
off
bit.
on
So
a
you're off.
acting
Yeah,
class.
no, we're off on acting class there. So shout out to, you know, all those acting tutors. We love you. But so you've gone for the snooker. You got into drama school. You know, you've at some point obviously got in front of the camera, right?
My last year at drama school, a lot of my, literally, we just finished the finals, and I was lucky I played one of the leads in the finals, and so there's still 2 shows to go at the Lillian Bayliss in Islington was where the finals were, and I got a phone call and Inspector Morse asked me to go.
Oh, nice.
So I hadn't even left drama school,
Yeah.
and I was just a walk-on copper.
Yeah, right.
But everyone hated me because I had an agent and I'd had a job now, you know.
And you were only in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, I went to drama school when I think I went to drama school when I was 21, where most people go when they're 18.
Right.
So, yeah. So, and then my first acting job, still at drama school, my first scene in front of the camera was with John Thor.
Oh, wow.
You ready?
Yeah.
Brian Cox,
Oh, God.
Janet Suzman,
Oh, my God.
and Kevin Whately.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, that's my first scene.
Really?
Yeah, and it was literally.
And all right, Martin, how's it going? Yeah.
Well, can I swear?
Yeah.
John Thor was a prick.
You really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, because you're fresh out of drama school, the director's talking to you, and he's gone. So I said to him, you know, you're studying accents for 3 years. You're fresh. You're new. You say to the director, I got 3 lines in the thing. Let's not get too twisted.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I said to the guy, do you want me to do it? You know, I'm Scottish. Do you want me to do it in Scottish? What do you want? John Thorne was walking past there, and he went, do it in Irish, you.
Well, he's obviously had a bad day, and I think he liked to
Yeah,
drink.
but I
and-
mean, but think about it, though,
Yeah.
Nigel. To actually spiritually have gone out of your way to
Say
squash
that.
someone like that.
Yeah.
I mean, not and then he
But
came
it might have been his, you know, part of his preparation. Do you know what I mean? So
No,
who
he came
knows?
when we
Yeah.
sit down later on, and he come and sat next to me. He said, "I'm sorry about that." I said, "Mate, don't do that again." So
But yeah, still, you know,
yeah,
I'm
it's
sure you
just
got plenty.
weird, huh?
So you went from that, and I guess then the work started to come a bit, because once you got a few lines here and there.
Yeah, well, see, there's the problem because you end up. The danger is you become a professional cockney.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, yeah.
the bill. Yeah, but I'm not though. If I want it, you know, it's like
Yeah.
the limit of people's imagination. I don't want to represent myself walking around that I'm anything other than I am.
Right.
So it does. I could walk
But
around
you're an
talking.
actor.
Like, I'm trained as a. No, I have a fully trained actor. I have 3 years of drama school.
Right.
You know, RP.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But that's not. I still lived in the East End. I'm not going to walk around talking like that.
Right.
So.
No, very easy to get cast early on as the Cockney kind of, you know, copper or the
Yeah,
Cockney
I mean they spend years.
criminal.
I mean, we yeah. So. Yeah, so I mean, there was all those professional Cockney parts, you know,
Right.
the Bill and this and the
Right.
murderer on this, and I mean, whereas actually my big skill was comedy.
Really?
Yeah, and
Huh.
yeah, comedy was my big thing. Yeah, yeah. So,
You want to tell us a joke then?
no, not jokes, but I used to do
I'm just
like
winding you
high
up.
not I used to love playing characters in like Midsummer Night's Dream and stuff.
Okay.
And I do remember working with one woman from the RSC, Jenny Lipman, her name is, and she. I decided my character was my character's goal was to upstage everyone.
Right.
So I used to go on and do stuff, and she loved it because it was very live.
Well, it sounds very Ricky Gervais, you know.
Well, I walk on with step ladders and stuff, and you
Right.
can see the other actors' faces go, "What's he doing now?" It's not that I'm doing a bit.
Yeah.
It's just I didn't want it to be boring.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, basically professional Cockney acting for
Right.
a number of years, including EastEnders.
Yeah.
With which didn't work out for various reasons because I was put into like a little duo with someone, and he had some substance abuse problems.
Right.
I kept knocking on his door and saying, "Time, give me 1 minute."
Oh, right. Oh,
Out
dear.
and come fresh as a daisy.
Yeah.
So
For about 20 minutes, yeah.
yeah, so yeah.
Huh.
And it's quite weird being in EastEnders and then walking around the East End. So everyone either wants to cuddle you or punch you in the face.
Right. Because that was, I mean, for anybody that doesn't know, EastEnders is like the biggest. I mean, it would be Neighbours, I guess, in Australia, and in America, I don't know what they would have, but some sort of daily running show. Yeah.
Yeah, it was on a few times a week. And
Yeah.
it's a big deal culturally where I'm from. It's a
Yeah.
big deal for people to say, "Oh, you were in this," like on my mates. The interesting thing. So when you're an actor and you have a life up the snooker hole, of course I was a flagrant homosexual.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
Must have
to
been.
those
Yeah.
guys. Until I was on
Yeah.
TV, then I'm everyone's mate, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm still a homosexual when I see them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which,
Yeah.
you know, so it's
Yeah. He's gay, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you do all the real things actors do? Does it hurt? I do remember all the little jibes. And
Yeah.
yet, can you sign this for me sister?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people have a funny kind of interaction with, you know, fame, if you like, celebrity, don't they? And
Yeah.
we've all been there, and we've all walked up and maybe had our, you know, in front of our sort of the god, you know, and just said some stupid things, and yeah, you kind of lose it, don't you? So people do lose it around celebrities as they.
But I was I was by zero means anywhere close to being.
But you're on the telly, you know. So
Yeah,
for
you're
most
on telly.
people, you know,
And you're in commercial, and if you're in a commercial or something, it's
Yeah.
enough.
right, totally, yeah,
Yeah, my mate's in the Sainsbury's advert.
yeah, right.
Right. That's the limit. Trust me, this is not the limit of my ambition.
It's amazing, though, isn't it, how celebrity kind of works, or fame works? It's bizarre, and I don't think we're getting any better at it. You know, it's just such a warped kind of interaction and space that people have about that. You know, I think it's because people want to. It's ego, I guess. They want to be the centre of attention. They want to be that popular kid at school. They want to be, you know, the person that gets all the girls and gets all the boys, or you know, gets all the money and is lauded and famous and becomes famous themselves. I suppose that's what they see.
Well, they can monetize it. I mean, there's a direct relationship for them to monetize that now. I do remember the first time of being like 12 or 13 years old and taking the bus up the West End with my cousin and walking down the King's Road, which was like a big day out for us.
Yeah.
And the bloke, the tall blonde one from Kajagoogoo, was walking the other way. The
Kajagoogoo.
big blonde guy. I was like, whoa.
Agadoo.
Yeah. No.
Is that M?
No, Kajagoogoo. Too Shy. Remember that?
Too shy.
Oh, I dined out on that for about 2 months.
Shy. Yeah.
And I just walked past him on the road.
Really?
Yeah. And no one believed you.
Just told all your mates. Oh, you know, never.
I don't believe you.
Yeah.
And it's just walking past someone on the same side.
Really? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So there is it is interesting for me, and now I've kind of on the other side of stuff of writing, producing, and directing. It's like there is a metric by which the kind of marketplace is dictating that you use people that have a level of fame without the training or talent to back it up.
Right.
So then what do you end up with?
Yeah. Well, just you end up with Trump. You know.
I mean, just I'm talking in terms of film and television. It's like everything gets dumbed down because
It's dumbed down, and you know, the science and the data and all that just goes out the window. So that's why you get to shout out to Joe Rogan, whose podcast is wildly famous, and he will never hear of us. But you know, if you listen to his podcast, they talk utter shit about, you know, based on no science. and it's based on stuff that people talk about down the pub, and it could easily be like the flat Earth. They just kind of random. It's like they're all on some kind of spacey drug. They randomly talk about the stuff that has no basis in truth. So we've lost that. Goodbye to truth. Shout out to truth. See you later,
think
buddy.
Think about that though. When our generation, now in our 50s, our dads would be in a pub having a few drinks, and grown men would punch each other in the face over who scored the winning goal in the 1953 Cup final before Google.
I'm sure
so there was a level of uncertainty of what was truth.
Right.
Now all of this can be proved in an instant.
Yeah.
But we can't prove that if there really is a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
So verbally they're sparring over intangibles.
Yes.
But there was more intangibles when we were younger. No one actually had access.
Well, there's no Google, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Google, and now
the intangibles is the only space left to go. I suppose.
So let's. I mean, so people are completely embracing that whole space of it could be true.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and 1%'s enough for an argument.
Well, that Alex Jones case that's just gone down, he's just been taken down a bit. I mean, he made his entire billions out of just telling utter lies and slanders, And I thought how that related to you remember the supermarket kind of tabloids in America?
In my head,
like aliens have landed in the high street.
Elvis down a chip shop.
Yeah, Elvis down a chip shop, all that sort of stuff. There's always been a market for that. Even though it's like wrestling, Yeah,
exactly.
It's like sort of, it's fixed, but you still watch it.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that someone in a WWF wrestling match actually punched someone in the nose and broke someone's nose and they bled 4 years ago means that I can argue now that this is real. Because look, someone actually did punch someone in the face once.
Right. Yeah.
So this is my context for 1% is enough to base an argument on.
Yeah. Anyway, so at some point I know you moved to Hollywood, right? So you've gone from London. How did Hollywood call? I mean, how did that come about?
So I did filmmaking's weird because I got called to do. I'm going to drop some big stonky
Come
names
on, that's
now.
what we want.
Right, so
we want the big names now.
All right. So I got.
That's why we've got you in here. It's the only reason.
I did leverage my limited amount of celebrity.
You're blushing now as well. It must be good. I'm excited.
So I did leverage that to get invited into golf tournaments with Mike Reed and Trevor Brooking and so they would call me just because if I'm not working as an actor I used to get 60 quid and me petrol paid and I'd win something or other in a tournament. So I probably was, if not the best player, I wasn't far away. The other good player actually was Eddie the Eagle, was a good player.
Was he really?
Conrad Bartelsi.
He was shit at everything else though.
Really nice bloke.
Yeah.
Really nice bloke.
Shout out to Eddie the Eagle,
and a good golfer. So I was down in Stonehenge and in my kind of, that story about, what's his name, Richard Price said, why do white men play golf? It's their one opportunity to dress up like a pimp.
Yeah, right.
So whatever I had on was suitable 80s golf attire.
Okay.
It's 80s, no 90s. So, and then I'm coming up the 8th and as I'm coming up the 8th, Phil Daniels is in front of the clubhouse giving it some of that to me.
Who's Phil Daniels?
Come on, Quadrophenia.
Oh, okay, the little guy out of Quadrophenia, yeah.
Yeah, so Phil's screaming. So my agent had been phoning the clubhouse. You've got to go to London now. You've got an audition. So I had to walk off. I can drive from Stonehenge in my golf gear up to William Morris,
right,
in Soho. So here I am sitting outside.
The agency,
Sitting there on the ground floor, and they told me it was James Cameron. I'm like, I'm not going to look him up. Not that it was that easy to look him up. I knew the name. I knew he was big. I'm like, I'm not going to frighten myself with who he is. He's just another bloke. Go and say hello. Do your thing. Go home. So I'd already screen tested for it. If this is a number of weeks later, I go up there. Apparently flown in. Wanted to see a bunch of people. And as he opens the door, the elevator goes. And John Anna walks out.
Who's that?
4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Okay.
Sliding doors.
Was he
the mummy? Scottish guy.
Scottish guy in 4 Weddings and a Funeral.
Yeah, the one who does the speech.
Okay.
Stop the clocks from ringing with a.
Right.
Yeah. So he's with the agency probably. He's come out. Hello, Martin. And I say, Jim, John. In we walk. So, but nice. I'm no longer as big a nobody as I probably am in reality.
Right.
I go to walk in, and the 2 casting directors sitting there, Susie and Gilly, Crowley, Paul, and they were the ones who always pushed for me, right? So basically, if ever anything was going to happen, it's going to happen through them. So as we're walking, Cameron's talking to me. I go and I stand in front of the camera like this. And he's an arsehole, Cameron. I quite like him, but he's an arsehole.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim, if you're watching this. But he says to me, and bear in mind, I just finished drama school. Right. So we're 2 hours a day accents, you know. Like, if I can't do an accent, I've been training phonetics, so I can work it out, yeah?
Okay.
And as we're walking, and once again, I'm Scottish.
Oh.
So bear that in mind. When he now says, I've seen your tape, Martin. You have a very strong London accent. What other accents do you do? And their faces went white. And I went, I do London or I do really London? Which one do you want? And he looked me straight in the eye, started laughing. Yeah. Didn't have me read the lines or anything. He said, would you like to go to Mexico?
Nice. Yeah.
I went back to my...
for Titanic.
Yeah, right? Yeah. At the same... So I went back to my agent, George, and said that shit doesn't happen. Yeah. Doesn't happen. Right. So I said, George, this is Japan. And he said, look, Martin, they never say that, Martin. They never say that. I said, we just said it. So they put me on a contract. It was a couple of grand a week. At the same time, I'd got asked to do Neil by mouth. But it was 200 quid a week.
Ah, right. Great movie, though.
Yeah. Yeah. So you look back and say...
2,000.
Yeah, 2 grand in Mexico.
Yeah, right. No, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, but why do they happen? They always happen at the same time.
Really?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
Isn't that weird? Like, if it had been like you'd finished one and then sort of had some downtime to do that, that would have been.
Well, we waited. Yeah. That started, and I'd waited. And I was on contract. I was getting half money, so I was getting a grand a week to do nothing while I'm waiting for them to fly me out. Right. And I got to the point where I'm like, I'm not going in my head. You know, I don't know what's going wrong. Right. So he's gone. Do you want to do a play? I'm like, can I fit it in? He's like, yeah, with Dudley. He was in Minder, the curly-haired one. Great actor. Oh, yeah. So they asked me if I wanted to do a two-hander called The Funeral with him, a Pinter play. And I love Pinter because it's really gritty, but it's really darkly comic as well, yeah? So it ended up, I was just about to do that, and then they called me to go to Mexico. Right.
I hope you had a good understudy for that then.
Yeah, I actually was just about to start rehearsals and I had to back out. So yeah. But once again, you know, like one thing and one thing. It's like, it would have been nice to have done that with him.
Yeah. So you're over to Mexico. Economy class.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. All that nonsense about people getting business classes. Right. You know,
it just doesn't happen.
Very few people get business.
Yeah.
You know.
But they'll pay you a grand a week to do nothing, you know. So
yeah, well, 2 grand when you get there.
Right. So you've flown over to Mexico, and they've built the boats there, I guess.
Well, what happened was, they were in Rosarito, which was just across the border, just past Tijuana. They flew me into LA to San Diego. Car drove me all the way down. I put my bags in the hotel, which had a golf course on it. So you can imagine me. I've gone lovely. I'm going to have a bit of golf tomorrow. Yeah. Can you just go to the set? Yeah, sure. We need to sign some papers. Fine, I go and sign some papers. They say, okay, can we just cut your hair while you're here? Oh, yeah, it was a time when I had some. Sure. Can we just see if you can put the costume on? Sure. Can you sit there for a second? And then the producer came and said, listen, I'm going to pay you more money. I need you to shoot tonight.
Oh, wow.
So we shot. I said, okay, I'll do it. We shot, but I'm now jet lagged. Yeah. I'm on nights. Yeah. I don't really know where I am or what I'm doing. So all of that training you've had as an actor, you're just slaughtered, yeah? And we start shooting. Didn't really get a lot in. Come to lunch, I'd eaten something. Lunch being at like probably 1:30 in the morning. Gone back up to the crow's nest because I played the lookout.
Yeah, you didn't have the famous line. No. Did you, right? The iceberg dead ahead, but your mate did, who was on the set, and you were the other guy. I mean, I've watched that a couple of times. It's a great scene. I mean, it's it is a great scene. And I've got some questions about your pupils at that stage as well.
Oh God, you have been watching it. So anyway, just finishing that last bit. Yeah. I ended up throwing up over the side of the crow's nest because, and onto about 20 people below.
Lovely. Yeah. And nice.
The medics come up and said, he's got to go home, his blood pressure's this, that and the other, so it might have been something to do with that.
Oh, I see. All right. Absolutely. So, that's the pupil. That'll explain the pupils.
Cameron came up to me in the medics room and said to me, can I give you a vitamin B12, a 14 shot? Will you go? Will you do it? Will you go again for me? Right. And the doctor's saying, no, he can't. Right. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And he's always he's done me a couple of favours since then.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He
But no,
remembers.
once everything's set up, man, they can't just
No.
move on to something else, can
No.
they? Really? So
No.
you're talking about that's hilarious. So you
What?
did another shot of.
No, we ended up doing. So listen,
Vitamin.
the doctor ended up
No.
in the end coming up and taking my blood pressure and saying he's going home now.
All right.
And so he cancelled. And he came up to me afterwards and said, "Cameron said, I'll remember this." And he
But you
actually
did the scene. You did the scene.
No.
No, right. Okay.
Did a bit of it.
Right.
And because there was a few scenes actually. There was before it hit, after it hit.
Yeah.
The first cut of that film was 12 hours long.
That's mad.
So there's a lot in there.
Bonkers film. We forget about the production of it.
Yeah.
And, the size of that.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting on the set. It was so big. Yeah.
Must be impossible to manage that kind of set.
Well, you say that.
Must have like a sort of level of prefects or directors or just you know.
But it's so if when you start knowing about film, all those silly names that you hear like Best Boy and all that stuff.
Right.
So your first assistant director runs the set.
Okay.
Your second assistant does this. The third assistant does talent management or extra coordination or whatever it is.
Right.
So his first was also called Martin. So at one point during it, he's gone, "Martin, what year is this film set?" And he's gone, 19. He said, "Okay, right. Why can I see a fucking car park in the shot?" Right. So he's give this guy hell. One time he shouted, "Martin, this," and I've gone, "What, Jim? What do you want?" He's gone, "What?" I said, "Are you talking to me? You just shouted." And he said, "Well, what if I am?" I said, "Well, you just ask me, Jim. You know, you're paying me. I'll do what you want. It's no problem. But you don't need to shout at me."
Right.
He started laughing. I think he likes it, you know, if you don't let him walk over you.
Yeah. Right. Of course. Yeah.
And with that guy, just to let you know, one day on set they were filming. We were just sitting waiting over here. Bang! Out comes a mariachi band. Martin, what this fucking band is doing on set? Get him off set. Out go the mariachi band. 30 minutes later, they come out of another door. Onto the Titanic deck, right, as they're shooting.
Yeah, really.
These fucking freaks out again, Cameron. Get these guys out. You personally take them to the gate of the studio. You get rid of them. And so he has. And then another 30 minutes later, they've come up from somewhere. And the guy was run so ragged by Cameron that he lost sense of where he was.
Yeah.
It was actually his birthday, and Cameron was the one doing it.
Oh no! You're kidding.
But this guy at that point was like in the middle of his third nervous breakdown.
That's hilarious, man. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Good God! What a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
And true.
Must be some other great stories, I'm sure. But so Hollywood, you're not actually in Hollywood at this point, then?
No. So you've got to understand. Okay, you've got to understand that it's the Oscars, and I just won.
So that must have been a great time, obviously, at Titanic, and just you were out there for how long in Mexico?
I ended up. He pushed it on that first day. We tried to actually. They pushed me on the first day of filming, so then we ended up. I think I ended up out there for about 5 months.
Wow.
They were way over budget.
Yeah.
But
it didn't matter in the end,
but
did it?
he was trying to put me in other stuff. He liked me, so he was trying to stick me in this rowboat. And of course, me being the method actor and not as mercenary as I should have been. So he's like, "You're in rowboat 12, Martin, with this scene with..." Who's actually become my good friend, Johan. And I said, "Jim, my character wasn't in that boat. I was in rowboat 8. So I'd actually been to the Greenwich Maritime Museum and read all the stuff.
Huh.
And I should have just gone with it, really, to do more screen time.
Yeah.
I took myself out of more screen time. I think he was trying to stick me in other scenes.
Right.
It just wasn't accurate historically.
Right. Well, you know.
Which is nonsense. I should have just done it and been a camera hog.
Nah, but then someone would have pointed it out like me.
Don't matter.
I
would
would
have
have pointed it
Spider-Man
out.
by then.
You know, you'd have been Spider-Man, Tom Holland. Yeah, look out. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So you've gone from Mexico and had a great time. Obviously, you got some chops then, and you've moved to.
Well, I'll tell you what was interesting is like some bloke started, Hollywood agent started. Well, I thought this guy's come down and he was hanging around with Leo. He was hanging around with these people and those people. So people knew who he was, and he started taking me out to dinner. He's like, "I'm going to represent you," and yeah. And then he came down again because it's a journey down there. And I thought, "Oh, this guy's serious." So we get into it, and then we've had about 3 or 4 good meetings now, and he's told me what I'm going to be and how this is going to work and how that's going to work. And I'd been told by an old acting friend of mine Be careful in Hollywood because you can die of encouragement. It was actually Donald Pleasence who told me that.
Donald Pleasence, right?
So this guy who took me to dinner, I was just about to sign with him, and then I said, okay, I got a good feeling about this, but who are your other clients before we sign off? Bear in mind, he's knocking around with some pretty heavy people. Billy Zane, like they know who he is. And he said to me, well, mainly I've got magicians.
Oh, Jesus, no, fucking Christ.
I was like, it might have worked out actually.
Well,
but
but no, there are magicians.
Mainly I've got magicians.
But there are some big magicians, but you just had it in your mind, the magicians
It
from
really
back
wasn't,
home, yeah?
Yeah. I would have been the Debbie McGee of like Hollywood.
Hey, it's work.
What attracted you to the millionaire, Paul Daniels?
Christ.
Yeah, so he actually I'd done a film before, and Donald Pleasence was actually giving me some good advice on that. So great, he mentored me a little bit. And
did he when you first arrived?
No, a different film.
Right.
I'd done a film in Russia, in Vilnius in Lithuania. He was playing Merlin, I was playing Sir Gawain, and
Playing what?
Sir Gawain,
Okay.
as they say in America.
Okay.
Gawain in the Lancelot's friend.
Oh right, it was a Lancelot movie with Sir Donald Pleasence.
With Noah Wiley from ER and young Indiana Jones and the chick from Twin Peaks, but not the brunette, the blonde, the one who was actually Laura Palmer.
Okay.
The body.
Oh, the dead one.
Yeah. She's a good actress though.
Yeah,
She
great.
played.
Taken after you. Play
Guinevere,
dead, yeah. Be
Guinevere.
asleep, yeah.
So she's
So what did Sir Donald Pleasence?
Well, I
what
just
advice
became
did
friendly with him, really, and his wife, Linda, and came to the end of that film, shooting, and we ended up, I think probably wrapped around about September, October, and I got a phone call the day after Christmas from Linda and said, do you want to come to a party on New Year's Eve? I think he had a younger daughter, I think maybe he was bringing someone to keep her occupied. She ended up not coming. There was only about 15, 16 people in the room, and it was just like when you realise you're a little bit out of your depth.
Right.
It's Donald and
Sir Donald.
Pinter, Harold Pinter,
Harold Pinter was there.
Bill Wyman.
Oh Jesus, Bill Wyman.
And then in walks Herbert Lom. You remember him?
No.
From Pink Panther,
The French
the French
inspector who's
the
driven
French
mad by Peter
police
Sellers.
commander.
Yeah.
And
Driven mad by Peter Sellers. Yeah.
yeah, by the
Famous,
time he walked in, I'd already been pissed because we're from the East End, and party said starts at 9 o'clock. It's free beer, so we're there at 9:01, right?
Right.
And it was champagne actually, it wasn't beer, and it was in Chelsea Harbour. It's like we knew there'd be good food and drink. Round about that age, we probably would rather have been a little bit more lively
In London,
party.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went, and
So you got Bill Wyman, Harold Pinter,
in walks Herbert Lom.
Herbert Lom.
By which time I'm already half pissed.
Yeah.
Probably further than half pissed.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, nice to meet you, mate. Sorry about that. I thought you were dead. And he says, you know what? Everybody I meet says that, and you're the only person who's ever said it out loud. So, and I think Donald liked me because I was a bit, I can't tell you the story what I said to him. It's filthy.
Yeah.
Of why he liked me, because at the end of the night he said, so what do you think's the attraction between myself and Linda, his wife? And I just was probably pissed at that point because I'd been having dinner all night.
Right.
And just said the most outrageous thing I could say, and he pissed himself laughing.
Right.
It probably, looking back on it, was spot on.
Oh dear.
But I'm not going to repeat it for the sake of this. Anyway, so when I went to moving to LA after Titanic, Donald said to me two things: be careful. Number one, you'll die of encouragement.
Yeah.
And number two, first thing you do, you get off the plane, go to Beverly Hills, join Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. And I was thinking to myself, I don't have a problem with beer. I come from a Scottish family. I don't really drink that much relative to the rest of the family.
Right.
After 14 years in LA, you just realise that was the shrewdest idea that anyone put in front of your nose. You'd have been meeting big producers, writers, directors, nose to nose, with their guard down. Now you look at Entourage and stuff like that, and you see how it works. You get a bit of access to that. It's like,
I've heard the stories, of course, and got mates who've been through it. But being signed, and then the fucking 8-ball comes out, and it's just whacked on the table, and off you go. Here's your keys to the Harley Davidson.
Yeah,
congratulations,
those days.
you're on. Yeah, those days. Right.
Those days.
So Donald, bless him. So did you do that? Did you go to AA?
I moved to LA after Titanic.
No, did you join AA though?
No, I didn't. I didn't see afterwards. I didn't. I really didn't see the benefit of that. I was a good networker, but I never was like an overt networker. I'd never be one of these people up Soho House every day. But now you look back on it, you got to put yourself next to the business to get the business.
That's right.
Or actually, you got to follow the money. So if you see what deals are going on. There's no point knocking around with someone who ain't got something going on. It's like you've got to get yourself next to go projects.
Yeah, for sure.
So
which is why I do this podcast.
there you go. So so I wasn't.
So how was LA for you then? I mean, you're living the Hollywood life then. I suppose you've been on Titanic. You're expecting the big things to happen, the phone to ring, and did it ring?
Yeah, it rang. Yeah, I literally went for the cast and crew screening of Titanic, and did an audition that morning for Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
It was a space
Babylon
show.
5. You were in that?
I was in that. So
God, I'm going to have to look out for a clip of Babylon 5 because that was
Season 5,
that was ahead of its
episode
time.
15.
Yeah? That was ahead of its time.
I was a Minbari warrior.
Here you go.
And so
Was that a well-paid gig?
Yeah, it was all right. But I had trouble getting a work permit. And just to give you an example of Cameron, I went up to him at the cast and crew screening. This was like December the 17th and shooting was January the 3rd. There's no way I'm doing a work permit in 2 weeks. Yeah, it's impossible. Although I've said, yes, I've got it. I'm going to do it. You know, actors say they can ride horses and stuff. Yeah, I've got all that sorted. Don't worry. Yeah. So my woman who was my agent, she called a couple of people I had. She got Danny Houston, John Huston's son, Martin Landau, Philip Noyce. She got these letter recommendations. And anyway, my immigration lawyer said, this is the strongest application for a work permit I've ever seen.
Yeah, please fuck off.
Cameron, I saw him at the cast and crew. I said, listen, can you do a letter? I'd ask him, would you mind doing a letter? He went, no. No. Wow. He said, I won't do that. Wow. But I tell you what I will do. You go see my lawyer on Monday morning. I'll do your work permit for you. Oh. So that's the only reason I managed to get it done so quickly. So, I mean, that's James Cameron. When you go out to bat for him, he goes out to bat for you. So cool. So he's a good guy. Yeah, well, he's an adventurer, that's for sure, man. Yeah, and he comes out this way quite a lot. Huh? Does he really? Yeah. Apparently, with his submarine. I mean, the things he does in the submarines, you know, he's been doing, and it's just doesn't do anything small. I'll give him that. No. So you started working Babylon 5, and then you know. Yeah, then we were knocking around Hollywood, and yeah, it was. What's Hollywood like? I mean, I've never been. It's quite small, actually. Yeah. It's you get. It depends if you clicked in at that top level. It's like being in London and going in this club or that club and this club, and you know. So if you're in with that crew, you go here, there, and there. If you're in with that crew, you go here, there, and there. If you're in with the middle-aged men, you roll up to the Playboy Mansion, which is a major disappointment. You know. I can imagine. But I mean, I finished Titanic. I'd shot that. I was doing 4 or 5 auditions a day. And I decided to go back to London. I had like 5 really good agents after me. None of the ICMs and William Morris, but Eileen Feldman's, the next level, the ones who take people on the go. I said, I'm going to go back to London, close my flat up and come back out. So that time between finish shooting and it coming out is a golden time. Because the idea of what it is massive. So I went back and closed me. I literally could have signed with 4 agents. Went back for 3 months, guys, knocked on the door and said, they're like, who are you again? Sorry. It's like, it's that instant. You got to ride it. That wave comes, jump on it and ride it. Yeah. They've just like, forgotten you. Yeah. Well, no, you just got to get, when the wave comes, you got to get to the next level. Right. And then you wait in the water for the next, even like, I've got mates who are like big actors now. Yeah. They still times when they're paddling in the water. Yeah. No, I do notice that, you know, once an actor gets into a scene as well, let's say Ryan Gosling or whatever, you know, once they get onto a scene, they mine it. They must be doing 4 movies a year or something. They're just one after the other, you know, because they know it's like being a footballer, I guess. At some point, it's going to stop. Well, they actually might be doing more than that, you know. So because of the green screen thing these days, yeah. Yeah, no, because some of the films, when actors are that expensive, if they're not playing the out and out lead, you know, they try and pop him in for 2 or 3 weeks. Like, let's get him shot in 3 weeks because he costs this amount of money. So while you might see him in quite a lot of film time, we just developed a project and we're considering, because my partner in LA has got access to some like Andy Garcia, and he's also got access to Malkovich. He's got access to. He used to manage Lawrence Fishburne, so it's more a case of when you start considering what they cost. It's like, how do we do a project to actually get them in at that price?
Right,
get
working with their schedule.
Yeah. So
let's talk a bit about Martin. You're in Bali, and let's also just quickly say how you came to Bali, because I think you met your wife, didn't you, in Hollywood?
yeah, she's
Balinese.
No, she's Javanese.
She's Javanese, but how bizarre is that? What was she doing there?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, yeah, my wife's really a really good hustler. She's from Kudus in the middle of Java, and then she went to Jogja, and then she ended up working in a factory in Semarang as a import expert. Managed to talk to her boss into getting. Don't you think it would be better if I was in the LA office? And next thing she knows, she's living in Beverly Hills. Yeah, and.
Okay.
So when you think about, because I do consider myself, like, I've come from the East End, I've gone to Hollywood, I've been up in the suite with Leo, I've been here, I've been done that, and I look back at my wife, and I've now been to Kudus now, I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
that's some hustling skills to get from there to there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's proper.
Yeah.
Oof,
Yeah.
There's an angle there.
Yeah, right.
And she did 5 years in LA, and she was my girlfriend in LA, and then we just after the bust of 2008, when it all went pear-shaped, they stopped giving out green cards just as her green card application went in,
right.
and she ended up having to come back and was waiting. I'd had enough of LA, to be honest with you. By this time, I had a music career going as well. I was DJing and producing music predominantly, and so I stopped acting because I was basically illegal. After that, I had a work permit. I'd met a girl. I was going to get married. She was American. I was going to get a green card through marriage, and just like it. By the way, I left myself being illegal. I couldn't take acting jobs.
Right.
Yeah. So
you moved to Bali.
Well, I came here to DJ. I came here to DJ a gig with Norman J on the beach. A friend of mine who's actually Indonesian. He worked at a radio station, KCRW, which is in LA. He told me about this job with 10,000 people on the beach. They paid me, but I think like 9,500 people never got the memo.
No.
So it was one of those cigarette company gigs, in Discovery Mall.
Oh, God.
No, at the back, it was like, okay, this is about as soulless as it gets. He
Yeah.
also booked me about 2 years later to play with
Boy
Tommy
George
Lee.
played there, though.
He did,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
anything. I've DJed with Boy George,
Yeah.
and it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a laugh.
When I DJ with him, he played. I opened and then he played. This was at Larchmont Village, Larchmont Club, and he played. And he went. His first record went a horrible mix.
Yeah.
And he just turned around and said, "At least they know I'm here, ducks."
Yeah, right. There we go. Make a good entrance.
Yeah.
So you've been in Bali now for a while, and let's talk about what you're up to at the moment, because I know you quite well, and I've seen a couple of scripts kind of come and go, and so what's going on? What are you doing here?
Okay, so about I was working in music, and I'd done quite well in like producing and doing music and stuff. So I was DJing and played for 7 or 8 years at Coup d'Etat and 5 years at the Rock Bar and Potato Head. So it was kind of a nice life.
Yeah.
And
Shout
then
out to the old Coup d'Etat.
Yes,
that was the time, wasn't it? We loved it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the place. I think there should be a move back to making Coup d'Etat the original drop-in place that it was.
Hey, man, what to do? Yeah, life's moved on. Now we've got Atlas Beach Club with 15,000 beds.
Mate,
and no roads. What a shit fight that is down there. In
it's
Bali, by the way, if you're listening from outside.
Yeah.
It's, gorgeous clubs and all that, but there's no roads, and everyone's got a massive truck. So it's just
corporate.
a log
The
jam.
thing is, the clamour to, homogenise these things.
It's just a question of profit, right?
Well, the interesting thing when you start going down that road, because I really do care a lot about music, is that where's the idea from here? Let's stop taking ideas in. Where's the artistic expression here? Where's the young producers making music? Ibiza is it because it produces art. It gives out. Where's the Bali sound? I mean, and why are clubs and venues not brave enough to back people that are a little bit different, so that you're actually going to have something that's from here.
Yeah.
Musically, let's not copy other super clubs or this, that, and the other. You know, what's come from here? How do we take music as an art form and then extend it? Because it's one of the premier sunset places in the world.
Totally.
So what is the extension of the idea? What is the artistic expression of the idea?
Yeah, man.
It's not co-opting pashas and your thing. These are dead. To me, these are dead ideas that are using Bali to stay alive as relevant concepts.
Yeah.
What can be born here to expect to be? Gender was possibly the idea. If they would have done a label and done remixes and stuff, there was the genesis of an idea that could have been an expression of here going back outwards.
So a style of music. And
yeah, but whatever it is, it's like a movement. Yeah, everyone talks about Berlin. Oh, it begins somewhere with someone saying, "This is what we do."
Yeah.
So anyway, we're off the topic. Now
so
I'm
no,
doing
but film. Yeah, film. Let's talk about the films. What are you doing? What films are you doing?
So I decided about 5. I had a kid about 6 years ago after various efforts of trying IVF and stuff like that. So we had a kid, and now she's 6. But you start as a person who has a kid when you're a bit older, you start thinking, well, what can I offer her? So, and obviously at this point in your life is time.
Yeah.
You know, your time and your attention.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, I had a daughter, so you consider to yourself, what can you offer her? And it's time, it's attention. Actually, as you get older, you've got more knowledge to pass on, which is wonderful. But I sat down and thought to myself, what of my younger self do I, especially as I've got a daughter, Nigel, and you have a daughter, so it's like, I don't, it is a terrible thing in a modern society. It's harder for young girls to get, you know, the society is so slanted towards helping men make it, and the other expectations that come with it. I thought I wanted to show her that, you know, that we swing for the fence, that we have a go.
So your legacy, if you like, you wanted to make some movies, yeah?
No, I just want her, whatever it is that she wants to do, that she realizes that, you know, it's what, you know, we don't mind doing that. Like, it's in our DNA to go for it.
Everything's possible.
Swing for the fence.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's like, so I thought to myself, you know, I want to get back into films, and so I put some of my own money in. I'd done some Mike Lee work at drama school, so I got asked to do an acting gig in Jakarta, and I went there, and there's this thing going off where there was a couple of decent actors there, and you could see that guy's not bad, that guy's quite good, and there was a bunch of people that was explained to me that they were there because they got big followings on Instagram, and literally was, you know, say the lines and don't bump into the furniture.
Right.
And this was one of the better shows that they were making.
Yeah.
So I said to myself, what can I do? I can't make, that was a Bahasa project, and it appealed to me because, you know, I was going to do it in Bahasa. Actually, the director got chased off the set by the immigration.
Oh, dear.
So it never actually happened. But it gave me the idea to, I went and I thought to myself, why don't Indonesian films cross over? Indonesian cinema predominantly, aside from a couple of films, makes films internally for its own market. I thought, how do we go about that not being the case? How comes other non-English language films are travelling? And it's often because of the psychological truth that they will put in, and I love him and I've met him a few times, like Ryan, the bodybuilder, they'll put him in for a couple of shots, you know, he's got great big muscles and looks good. But they won't put him in for 20 seconds. They'll put him in a chunky scene. Right. The woman comes on and the film's great and we're following the story, and then some woman will come, yeah. And if you don't know the cultural reference, the psychological truth is gone in a second. So I thought I started a project. I went to Rukman Rasadi's group in Yogyakarta, which my good friend Richard linked me to. And it's a serious group of actors who do acting classes all week, and at the weekend do more acting classes. So that kind of passion.
Right.
So I did a 2-day workshop with them where they, in Mike Lee's process, where you create a character. I thought, okay, we're going to have a greater psychological truth if these guys have created these characters themselves. So I brought three or four actors to Bali, and we did a character workshop with them, and then we wrote the first film predominantly from the actors from the characters created by those actors.
Right. So it's not really acting at all then. Again, it's sort of doing nothing. So picking the person to fit themselves almost.
It is and it isn't. So actually, it's so when you get down to it, if you're talking about what do I now as an older person think of what is the process is yes, you must do the work. You have to do the research. You have to do the work. Right. However, you don't display the work. You sit on the work. Right. It's enough that you know. Right. You don't have to demonstrate to me. If you're a really good actor, you betray. Right. You give it away. Inadvertently. That's really good acting. So.
Interesting. So you've got projects on the way now?
Yeah. So we're just waiting for we were trying to shoot it last year. I managed to twist one of my friends' arms, Andrew Howard, who's was in Tenet and The Hangover, and was in the film Limitless with Bradley Cooper. Yeah. So he takes that pill and he becomes like all powerful. So the Russian guy in that who chases him around. Okay, that's one of my good pals. So.
And what's the name of the movie that you're working on? Kupu.
Yeah, it's a road movie from Bali to Bojonegoro in Java. Mm-hmm. So we're looking to shoot 3 weeks there and 1 week in going to shoot up in Lavina actually. So just because I want to be out of the way and.
Yeah. When's that going to take place?
Well. Good question. So the money's supposed to come in, the final bit of money, and it hasn't. So the date we got for the money is the 28th, and it'll be 4 weeks after that. We're locked and loaded.
Of August. I mean, you've been working on this, I know, for at least we've had COVID as well, right?
Yeah. So it got closed down for 2 years. So yeah. The irony is, it's now I've been offered money to turn it into an English film from the States. It just becomes a B movie. You know what I mean? Yeah. And luckily, the market has changed where those companies like Netflix are buying non-English films.
So you're actively engaged with large companies about possibly accessing the Indonesian market, or producing stuff from Indonesia.
Come in is there are other projects as well. There's a second one called The Book of Run, based around. Which you're an expert on that.
Yeah, I am actually. I wrote a book about Run. It's about Banda, isn't it? And they swap the island of Run for famously for Manhattan under the Treaty of Breda.
So the idea is that there's we're doing it in a modern context with some history, kind of action adventure, and I just brought on a producer from Sony, so she's on now, and so there is an interest from Sony to do films in Indonesia in Bahasa. So the film's actually in English at the moment, but it's interesting. It's interesting because it's such a classicist form, like the Treasure movie.
Yeah, it would be a Treasure movie, right? That one.
Yeah. So almost, and also they've read the first script and they've gone younger, so they want to go like Goonies age, maybe a bit older, but they know their audience. Like that, I mean, people talk about Netflix being the big boys. Sony's the big fish. So if they're interested in coming in here, it's interesting. So.
And you got other projects as well on the go? I think there's one more, right?
Yeah, there's another hijack movie. So all of conceptually what I'm trying to do is tell Indonesian stories, but make them globally accessible. Right. So a lot of the people, I do have access to talent, just because a lot of actors that I grew up with, who were struggling like me in Hollywood, have gone on to do well. From my pal Chin Han, who's like a great Singaporean actor, couldn't get booked in the 90s. We used to be roommates for a little while in one place on the hill in LA, and he's doing great now. He's in Contagion and Batman and that film with Rock and the skyscraper. So he's doing good. Yoan, Matthew Rhys, Andrew. I mean, they're enough for the size of project I'm doing. Right. And what at the end of the day, it's Bali, mate. It ain't hard to twist. You're not saying, do you want to come for 2 weeks in some suburb outside of Prague? Yeah, right. Prague's a lovely city, by the way. Some of the suburbs.
Shout out to Prague, nice.
Yeah. So like, if we put projects together and say, listen, come to Bali, why not?
Brilliant. Martin, it's been such a pleasure talking to you, man, and best of luck with your ventures. And, man, see you soon.
Yeah. Yes.